Here today to tell you we don't have to bet the security of the world on the hope that Iran will change for the better. We don't have to gamble with our future and with our children's future.
The Israeli Prime Minister's address to a joint session of Congress has created a fair amount of controversy.
New at 6 o'clock, 24-hour News 8 political reporter Rick Albin talked with two Michigan congressmen who saw the appearance a little differently. Rick?
Again, one more thing that goes along party lines. The White House was miffed about the Netanyahu visit, so much so the administration didn't even send a representative to the joint session of Congress. There were several problems from the White House perspective, and chief among those, concerns that the Israeli Prime Minister was speaking out against a deal that the president's trying to broker with Iran. That Netanyahu says will ensure that Iran ends up with nuclear weapons, and that's something Israel is determined to prevent. For Congressman Fred Upton, the speech was necessary, and so he says is congressional approval of whatever the Obama administration agrees to with Iran.
Decade after decade.
It was well received. I mean, it's, you know, if an accord is struck, I think it has to pass the muster of going through the Congress, to go through the Senate as if a treaty. And Netanyahu made the very strong point that in what he has read so far, no deal may be better than a bad deal. And it is, you know, allowing Iran to develop a nuclear war weapon is just, it is nonsensical.
Michigan Democrat Dan Kildee has a different take.
Regarding the Prime Minister's speech, most of what he said, of course, everyone could find agreement with, because most of it was very thematic and, you know, very much focused on the need to contain Iran's nuclear interests, nuclear aspirations, and to try to make sure that we do so in a way that preserves Israel and, you know, creates a more stable region. How we get there is, I think, where we find some disagreement.
Agreement is still viable. As for any deal, the White House says it is still far from a certainty, and there were about 50 or so Democratic members who didn't show up at all for that speech today, but well over 90% of the elected members in the House and Senate were there.
And Netanyahu, who I'm assuming is privy to some of the details of the negotiations underway, did not share too many of those details.
And that's important, Brian, because that was a big concern. In fact, the White House was concerned that he might do that. And I think it was very clear from the White House perspective that if you share that information in this joint session, don't expect that exchange of information to continue. We have long shared information with Israel, and they with us. They have a very good intelligence gathering group there. So this was not a situation where they wanted to see a big break, and hopefully that was averted today, because they are certainly our eyes and ears, at least a big portion of that in that region of the world.
Rick Albin, thank you.
Rick,